All right.
So let's go to running back. Now, for running back game, to me, this is the position that is the hardest to gauge, simply because there's just so much up and down. If you look at the last 3 seasons, overall stats, when I'm looking at running backs, it's just really kind of hard to gauge. There's no consistency as to who's fallen to the top 10. Not to mention here in the last couple of years, you've got this, onslaught of really good young running backs that have just fallen, into this. And then, of course, we've got Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we got. And so the big thing is that the running backs, to me, that are going to do the most damage are not only the ones that are going to run the football, but they're also catching the football.
Absolutely.
There are tons of targets. I mean, I'm sitting there looking at things like Breece Hall had 95 targets last year. 95, okay? Travis Etienne had 73 targets last year. Rashad White from Tampa Bay had 70 targets last year. I mean, that just kind of gives you an idea. I mean, they were throwing the football to running backs. And so if you've got a combination of where you're running the football well and you are, catching the football, there you go. So here we go. It's pretty simple for me. Number 1 is Christian McCaffrey. Number 2, I'm going to go Breece Hall. Number 3, Travis Etienne. Number 4, Bijan. And then number 5, Jamari Gibbs. I think that's your top 5, and that's, I think really 2 through 5 you could interchange anyway.
That's fair. That's fair. It's going to be an interesting order.
All right. What you got, Clint?
So I've got a surprise at 1. I know McCaffrey. He's been the model of consistency. He did have a slight tweak this preseason, but I think from a fire standpoint, I think Saquon is ready to tear up. Yes, for this year, I wouldn't say he's my number 1 dynasty back, but for this year, I think he's going to have a fire under him. Like I said, I'm all about this year. I've got about 5 guys that I think they're ready to prove to the NFL. I think Saquon, in his mind, the Giants didn't want him, and he went to a division rival that's ready to win. I think the Eagles are going to be refocused. And yeah, I think Saquon will come out, and he does catch the ball, and he does run the ball, and he can do everything on the field. There's no reason to take him off the field. So that's why I've got him as my number 1 this year. And I just think we've seen some insane production from Christian McCaffrey the last couple of years. And I just think we see a small comeback off that. But number 2 is Christian McCaffrey. I mean, when he's healthy, there's no doubt he's going to be the number 1 or number 2 running back. It's just a model. He's the model of consistency. Health's always a big question, but of course he has been able to stay healthy the last 2 years. We'll see. That's what he did in Carolina. He had those 2 really big years. He was number 3, number 1, and then he just had 2 years of injury. So I'm a little worried. He is getting into his I believe it's his year 7 or 8 season, and he's like I said, a lot of usage the last couple of years, and he's coming in not his healthiest. So we'll see. So number 3, this is where I actually agree with you somewhat, Kelly. I have Breece Hall up there. I think last year the offense had to run through him. Now that I don't think he'll see 95 targets just because Aaron Rodgers isn't the one to constantly be dumping down. But I think what will happen is they're not going to be able to load the box against Breece in the run game. It's going to open that up. It's going to have him playing more on 6-on-6 man fronts instead of an 8-man stack box. Breece is uber talented. I've loved him since he came out. It's also, don't forget, it's his 2nd year back from the ACL injury, and that's key. Adrian Peterson is a myth. It's always that 2nd year where guys come back their healthiest. Number 4, I have Bijan Robinson. I think last year the Falcons did not use him in the best of their ability, and he was still running back 7. Yeah, Tyler Algier was just eating into his workload. He was still running back 7. Kirk Cousins, you look, he's always he likes to check it down to his running back when things are going bad. Bijan is arguably a top 3 talent at the running back position in the league, and I think there's high hopes. So number 5, I waffled on this. There was a few guys where I could have went. I liked Gibbs. My problem with Gibbs was I think David Montgomery's still going to be there. He's still going to be taking a lot of that goal line opportunity. So when I was picking my running backs, I look for guys that are going to get just about everything. And so far, that's people I've mentioned. Again, Jonathan Taylor. I was really close on taking him as my 5th. But the problem, I think Anthony Richmond is going to be taking some of that goal line action from him. So the last guy that I feel like gets everything, and I thought I was going to be the only one to have in my top 5, Kelly, is Travis Etienne. Tank Bigsby does not scare me. They can talk him off all they want. Last year, the dude couldn't do anything. When Tank Bigsby was on the field, he was the best player for the other team. The dude did nothing but fumble. I don't know what his average yards per carry, but I know it wasn't good. Etienne, I know a lot of people were a little worried because his first half of the year he was a top 3 running back. The second half of the year he was he was number 30. He dealt with some inconsistency, but that whole team was dealing with injuries.
Well, they lost too many
Absolutely.
players, and so they could stack the box against him.
Absolutely.
And to kind of showcase that, even though he's catching the ball, he caught, he had 58 receptions last year. He still only had 1 reception, TD.
Oh yes. And Jamal Agnew was taking a lot of that from him too. So I do Travis Etienne as my 5th, and that's my top 5 guy. When you look at running backs, your top 5 is always going to be the guys that get every piece of the pie.
Okay. What you got, sir?
Christian McCaffrey is the number 1.
Hey,
listen,
I took a
understand
chance.
the point. I understand it. And that offense, I still think Ayuk won't be there. That's one less mouth to feed. And the way that they run that offense, it's very funny saying this about Kyle Shanahan, but his offense runs through the running back, but he's lost, 3 Super Bowls now by not running the football?
running back.
But when you look at it, it runs through the running back. And so I think McCaffrey's going to get the volume. I think you get the screens and all those routes with him. Number 2, I have Breece Hall. I think they are going to use him with the volume in the run game, also in the pass game. Rodgers doesn't check it down a lot, but I think he's going to get it. Especially with Rodgers coming back, we don't really, not to say that they're going to hinder the offense to bring Aaron Rodgers back into it, but I think they're going to lean on the run game. I think the same thing is going to be true for the next one. I got Jonathan Taylor. Only because I think, last season I got him played 10 games, and Richardson got hurt. So when they come back, what are they going to do if Richardson makes a mistake early, but they just start running the ball? To get him back in that groove, they kind of try to slow the game down for him. It's quick passes, it's run game. I think the volume's going to come there.
Indy is the team that could be very scary.
It could be, absolutely.
That's a team that could just be very, very scary.
If the O-line plays out. Their O-line, it's the one factor that worries me on that team, just because they've had a good O-line for years, but last year was real shaky, so their O-line has to get figured out. If they can figure that out, I agree. They could definitely be a team, a very, very scary team.
What you got next?
Bijan Robinson is next. I think this is more, the Falcons are finally going to show, I think, all the guys they got. Right? We're finally going to see Kyle Pitts play. I feel Bijan Robinson's finally going to play. They got the great wide receiver. We're finally going to get to see these guys play. And so I think just out of that, Robinson still, my ranking was number 9 last year.
Mm-hmm. That's what I had him. I had him at 9. Clinton had him at 7. I had him at 9.
Yeah, so
depending on the scoring format,
right? Depending on the scoring, but even then, because not to just keep making the same argument, but once you have a quarterback coming off an injury, they slowly start to run the game a little bit more earlier in the year. Yeah. New offense.
Well,
got to get in it.
And the factor too is if Kirk isn't ready to play and they've got to throw in the rookie Penix, what's the rookie's best friend?
Oh yeah, you're running the ball. And if you got Kyle Pitts, you're praising that because the tight end is the second best friend. And then number 5, I got Saquon. I think if he stays healthy, I think that Eagles offense is going to be very hard to stop.
Agree.
Because now they have the running back, it's going to complement that offense so well. I know you talked about it last week about them running the football. At a certain point, you got to go, hey, look at the guys I got. Right? If you got Adrian Peterson, you're not throwing it back in the day.
Once again, I just go back to the fact that I hate their offensive coordinator.
Well, we know that. We know
it's fine. Hey, it's fine.
I'm just worried that he's not. I think he still gets into the top 10 this year. I really think he falls in the top 10. I just don't trust the coordinator. Saquon should touch that ball 25 times a game. And if he's not touching that ball 25 times a game, then I think that the offensive coordinator needs to be fired. To me, it's that simple. He's your best talent that you've got on the offensive side of the football, and if he's not running the ball 15, 18 times and getting about 7, 8 catches, a la Christian McCaffrey, then you are wasting. You are wasting picking him up.
They should copy and paste what they do in San Francisco.
Yeah.
with that offense. They got the receivers, they got the tight end, they got the
Sure.
quarterback. Now they have the running back. It should kind of mirror the offense the
absolutely.
same way. And then next year you'll be talking about him as one of the best coordinators, so the number one offense.
Yeah, maybe.